What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Draft Hub. Today, we are going to be taking a look at 10 college football teams that I think could be dark horses to make the college football playoffs in the 2026-27 season. And I think this is the most parity that we've seen. I feel like there is a lot of uncertainty at the top, at least in the offseason. There's a lot of speculation on, some teams that could be at the top of each conference, not every conference is as cookie cutter as it has been in the past few years. And I think there are some teams that are really, really good that can make some noise. And I'm not even talking about a lot of Power Four teams, a lot of Group of Six teams as well. But before we get into this video today, if you guys enjoy college football content, transfer portal news, NFL draft content, or just NFL content in general, like and subscribe channel. I am run myself to 10,000 subscribers before the 2027 NFL draft. And with your help today, that is certainly possible. And if you don't want to subscribe, that's fine. Thank you for watching. Please just leave a like. It helps get the video out to more people that might want to subscribe. So without further delay, let's get into it here. And this is obviously in no particular order. This is just 10 teams that I want to highlight today. The Houston Cougars are a huge team for me that I think are, so this kind of goes, the way that I sort of kind of line this up was it goes from maybe most realistic to maybe more darker horses, I would say. But either way, I think a lot of these teams are genuine. The genuine consensus is that they are dark horses. But the Houston Cougars are a team that I think a lot of people expect to make that jump to the college football playoffs, or at least college football playoff contention. Last year, they went 10-3, and they come into 2026 this year ranked number 24 in the preseason AP polls. I personally think that's a little bit too low. I don't think that I could name 24 teams in college football right now that I think that are better than the Houston Cougars. I would probably say more closer to 16 or 17 would probably be better. But either way, they are ranked at the beginning of the season, and they are bringing back a ton in terms of returning production and the coaches as well. Obviously, Houston is the only Power Four program in Texas that actually returns its head coach, all three coordinators, and the starting quarterback from 2025. And in the era of the modern day transfer portal and the coaching carousel, I mean, that is just a huge accomplishment for them. They also bring back 17 starters overall from the offense and the defense, 12, including 8 from the defense as well, which is huge. Connor Wegman is coming back. Mekhi Hughes transferred in, which I think is absolutely huge. Amari Thomas, who had 966 yards and 12 touchdowns on 67 catches last year, comes back. A lot to be excited for on the offense, especially with the offensive line, one of the best in the Big 12, in my opinion. And then on the defensive side, like I said, they do return 8 starters, and the outside of maybe Texas Tech, I think the Houston Cougars have probably one of, if not the best defensive lines in the Big 12 as well. So major props for them as well. This is just a thing where I think Houston can easily win 9 to 10 games this year. I think what's going to separate them from the rest is if they can steal a game against, Texas Tech, or a game against Utah, kind of get them into that upper echelon of the Big 12 where they could win, if they can go 10-2 in the regular season and they could have a couple of huge victories on their resume. Maybe they don't even need to make the conference championship game or even win. Maybe they make the conference championship game and they don't win it. As long as they make it, I think if they make the conference championship game, they are a shoo-in to make the college football playoffs. But I think this Houston Cougars team is the strongest that we've pretty much ever seen from this program. So I think that I expect big things from them going into next season. Moving on, another Big 12 team is the TCU Horned Frogs. And if you guys follow me on Twitter, or you just follow me or subscribe to me in general on YouTube, you'll know how much I've talked about a couple of these teams on this list. And one of my most talked about teams this past offseason has been TCU. I mean, under Sonny Dykes, this team has consistently gone through trials and tribulations and roster turnover and transfers, and they just continuously get the job done. They are at least a shoo-in for an 8-4 record almost every single year, it feels like. Sonny Dykes brings in one of the most intriguing quarterback transfers in college football this year. Jaden Craig from Harvard comes over. I was a huge fan of his at Harvard. I highlighted him a ton on my transfer portal videos, and he landed in what I think is the perfect spot. I really do think that TCU, despite having maybe in terms of weapons, one of the weaker teams that they've had in the last few years, Sonny Dykes and co. obviously, deserve the benefit of the doubt in terms of what they could accomplish with the players that they have defensively as well. They are bringing in a really, really nice secondary, so that's another thing as well. I think that the secondary is restocked, it's reloaded. TCU really has to bear down on the run defense if they want to do anything this upcoming season, but TCU is in that weird nebulous of like a top 5 Big 12 team, but also within that 5 to 8 range, I feel like, because there's a lot of teams in the Big 12 that I feel like can win 8 or 9 games and somehow still wind up outside of even the top 4. So I think TCU, they really have to bear down, like I said, defensive continuity, the Big 12 experience, the recruitment base, and the program infrastructure is good. I do think the way that they get to the college football playoffs is through the championship game. Kind of the similar sentiment that I said with the Houston Cougars. As long as they can get to the championship game, I do think it is certainly possible. And I don't think it's as cookie cutter at the top. As we've seen, a lot of people love Texas Tech, obviously. A lot of people love BYU. They love Utah. But I really do think sneaky teams like TCU, like Houston, can definitely find themselves, in that top 2 range. So it'll be interesting to see how the Big 12 plays out as the year goes on. Moving on, I have the Louisville Cardinals here as well. This is another team that I've spoken extremely high on this past year. You look at so really it's a lot of returning production. So this team is really good. The offense is absolutely built around Isaac Brown. Lincoln Keenholt's coming in. There's a lot of expectations and a lot of predictions kind of on his shoulders. He needs to come in and he needs to produce essentially right away for this Jeff Brom led team to kind of do damage. And they were great last year. I thought they should have made the ACC championship game last year. They kind of let that fall by the wayside, but I think Lincoln Keenholtz is a huge X factor for them this year. Defensively as well, I love basically everyone that they brought back. Clev Lubin coming back is obviously one of, I don't know if he's one of the best kept secrets in the 2027 NFL draft class, but I've seen a ton of people talk about the edge production and the edge talent this year, and I don't really see a lot of people talking about Clev Lubin, and I think that he is one of the better edge rushers, at least one of the most productive edge rushers in college football over the last 3 years. So I really do think this team, as long as Lincoln Keenholtz can live up to the expectations, I don't really see anything stopping this Louisville Cardinals team from, at the very least, making the ACC championship game. And like we saw last year, Duke and Virginia were both in the ACC championship game, and neither team made the college football playoffs. Miami wound up making the college football playoffs, and they went all the way to the championship game. So it's not exactly, a concrete formula in the ACC. Louisville could probably even miss the ACC championship game if they wanted, or lose the ACC championship game if they wanted, and still somehow make the playoffs. But I do think this team is ready to compete. I think they're ready to make some real noise in the ACC, and I wouldn't be surprised if Jeff Brom's team is one of those lower seeds in the college football playoff when it's all said and done, when the playoffs do roll around. Moving on, I have the Cal Golden Bears here as well. This is a team that I mentioned before. There are a couple teams that I speak quite highly on, and Cal is one of them. JKS entering his sophomore season, he was basically sensational last year for them. 3,500 passing yards, 18 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. He is getting Chase Hendricks and Ian Strong to come in and play receiver for him as well. That is just an unbelievable duo to add to this team. Tosh Lupoy is coming in. He is, a defensive-minded motivator. And Cal really do a good job of developing a lot of secondary talent. They have one of the freakiest athletes, in college football on the defensive line as well. They have great linebackers. This is a team that could be primed for a big-time performance in 2026. And like I said, the ACC is wide open this year. I really think it kind of hinges on the development of JKS and how he links up with Chase Hendricks and Ian Strong. But on the other side of the ball, on the defensive side of the ball, Tosh Lupoy coming in from Oregon, such a great pedigree. Like I said, he's a fiery competitor. I've seen some interviews with him. He actually follows me on Twitter, which I think is absolutely hilarious. That one day I'm just like sitting there in my work truck and I see it's like head coach Tosh Lapoy has now followed you. And I looked at it and I was like, oh my God, that's actually him. It was really funny. I shot him a DM. He didn't answer me. Don't expect him to answer me. That's all good. But I was trying to get an interview set up because that would be so cool. But I know that those guys literally have a crazy amount going on. But he is a fiery guy, man. He's excited. I think he's going to motivate this team to do a lot better. Like I said, the ACC is wide open. And I'll ask you guys this question. Did any of you guys expect Duke or Virginia to be in the championship game last year? No, I didn't think so. So I think the same principles apply for the ACC this year, maybe outside of Miami, because I think Miami just have the best overall roster in college football, to be quite honest with you. And I really do think that it's going to be a speed run to the ACC championship game for them. But I think Cal have a legitimate shot of shocking a lot of people this upcoming season. Moving on to the Washington Huskies, man, and this team is really, really good. I don't really think there's any two ways about it to kind of say anything else. Damon Williams coming back after briefly entering the transfer portal. I don't know what Jed Fish did to get him to come back. I'm assuming there was quite a few hundreds of thousands of dollars added onto the NIL that got him to come back. But Damon Williams Jr. is the biggest reason why this team has a shot to make the college football championship. And like I said, the Big Ten is tough. This is a gauntlet of a conference. I think that there could be legitimately 4, maybe even depending on how the teams go, maybe even 5 teams from the Big Ten that make the college football playoffs this year. I really do think it. I think Washington can absolutely find themselves in that realm. They were fantastic last year after Jed Fish's first year was kind of topsy-turvy. They went 9-4 overall last year, and another year of development for Damon Williams. This defense is feisty as well. The defensive talent on the line is really good. The secondary talent is always good for the Washington Huskies. And Jed Fish really knows how to take those defensive players and really develop them as well. So that's a huge bonus on that end as well. The roster is just talented top to bottom, and they're already 19th in the pre. So as long as they could kind of keep themselves around, that 10 to 20 mark, who knows how it works. But I really do think the Washington team that are getting quite slept on this year as a legitimate team that can make the college football playoffs. Now, moving on to the next team I have here, that's going to be the Iowa Hawkeyes, man. The Iowa Hawkeyes have a distinct advantage over every single team on this list. And the Iowa Hawkeyes know how to play down, dirty, and disgusting football. And there is no other team on this list that knows how to do it quite like the Iowa Hawkeyes. I mean, this team, it doesn't even matter who's under center. It doesn't matter what's going on. The formula is clear. It's defense, 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 great coaching, running game, and the offensive line. And we'll worry about the passing attack later. I mean, this is a team that is most primed to win a 9-6, 12-10, 19-17 game. This is it. They know how to play down and dirty, and they've done it in the Big Ten for so long at this point as well. So that's where I think they have the distinct advantage. Also getting a couple of really, really nice transfers in at the wide receiver position, including Tony Diaz, who was sensational last year, who had 60. I think I just highlighted him on my Twitter. Please, I have the link in my bio for this video. Please follow me on Twitter. I'm closing in on 1,000 followers on Twitter. That's pretty cool considering I didn't really care too much about it until the last couple months. I am highlighting a ton of players daily on my Twitter account, and I'm sure you guys won't want to miss that. But yeah, Tony Diaz was phenomenal last year. 67 catches, 863 yards, 11 touchdowns from the FCS, 5'10", 184 pounds. He's a great player. He really is. And I think he could add some much needed juice to this passing attack. And honestly, if you add juice to the Iowa Hawkeyes team already, if you add juice to the passing attack, then, I mean, you have a recipe for 10, maybe even 11 wins. I think the Iowa Hawkeyes, kind of like what I said with TCU and Sonny Dykes, I think Iowa is primed for at least 8-3, 8-4, 9-3 every single year. And I really do think that as long as they could avoid turnovers, convert third downs, hit on the play action shots, and make big throws when necessary, I don't really think they need a whole hell of a lot from their passing offense. But as long as they can do things like that, this offense, like I said, has intriguing pieces. Reese Van Der Zee, KJ Parker, like I mentioned, Tony Diaz as well. They know how to do it in the Big Ten. I think the ceiling might be 10-2. And the way that the Big Ten is just kind of overpowered right now with a lot of these middling teams, I think that Iowa has a legitimate shot of making the college football playoffs. Moving on to a couple of group of six teams here, and I have the Memphis Tigers, and I think the Memphis Tigers are very, very slept on here, uh, making it. So, a couple of things here. Charles Huff coming over has been one of the best group of five, group of six coaches over the last couple of years. Obviously, he was great at Marshall. Then that whole transfer saga happened and he left, and like 60 something transfers, you know, left Marshall. He went to Southern Miss, who was 1-11 the year prior, and he led them to a 7-6 record. And then Memphis came calling, and after Ryan Silverfield left, and this is a great step up for him. It's still in the group of five, but Memphis is, group of six, but Memphis is primed to make a run eventually. I think, I know losing, longtime quarterback Seth Hennigan is tough, and, all the other roster turnovers they've had at the quarterback position. I'm sorry, Hennigan was the year before. I don't even know what I'm talking about here. But getting in Marcus Stokes was a huge transfer for them as well. He was a player that has had, a pretty seedy past, but other than that, he's been a baller, and he should have been an FBS quarterback from day one. But Marcus Stokes is a huge player for them. Like I said, they have to dominate the American, though. So that's the big thing for me. I think Memphis have to kind of run the table. If they want to make the college football playoffs, they have to be the highest ranked group of six team. And that's very tough because you have UNLV, you have Boise State, you have a lot of these teams that are primed to take that top spot. And then it's unfortunate because say Memphis go 12-0 and then they win the American, they go 13-0, and Boise State go, 10-2, 11-1 in the new Pac-12, and they get higher ranked. That's kind of a shame, unfortunately. But I think Memphis is a team that really has a legitimate shot of going undefeated in the American. I think under Charles Huff, he's a motivator. He's an excellent head coach. The proof is in the pudding. He's kind of a winner everywhere that he goes. I really do think that they have a legitimate shot here, but it's tough. Week 1, week 0 is UNLV, so that's really going to be the benchmark for how this season goes for the Memphis Tigers. And speaking of UNLV, they are not next. I thought I had them next. Oh, that's actually really funny. Wow, I just put my foot in my mouth with that one. But all right, we'll go over to another group of six team that I think has a legitimate shot of making it here, and that's the New Mexico Lobos, man. This is a unbelievable team. You want to talk about just a phenomenal overall head coach that's going to wind up getting poached by a Power 4 team eventually at some point. But not only that, so Jason Eck has been fantastic since taking over. Jackson Eck has been unbelievable. One of the best defenders in the Mountain West. He was the co-defensive player of the year last year, 129 total tackles, 10th nationally. He comes back. 17 players are selected to the preseason All-Mountain West team, including 7 first-team selections, most team selections in the conference as well. They went 9-4 last year. The roster has an enormous amount of experience. The quarterback position is a little, with Jack Lane, I would say that that's the most uneasy position I feel about with this team. But other than that, I think they have playmakers all over the place. I think the defense is going to be outstanding, and I wouldn't be surprised if New Mexico find themselves. It is going to be tough. I know that a couple of teams in the Mountain West are going to be vying for that top spot as well. But I think New Mexico, if they can continue to build and their defense continues to gel and the continuity shows through, I think they could be a much better unit than they were last year. And they were already good. I think they could be much better. And I really do think that they have a legitimate shot of making it. And again, the G6 automatic bid changes everything. So if they could win the Mountain West and they could be the highest ranked team in the group of 6, then you get an automatic bid to, the college football playoffs. So that is a huge thing as well. They don't even have to worry really about, because really winning the Mountain West, I feel like winning the Mountain West or the Pac-12, I feel like kind of takes precedent over a lot of the other group of 6 conferences. So I think if you can win the Mountain West, I think you kind of sort of should get that automatic bid to the group of 6, but to the college football playoffs rather. But New Mexico, I think I really think this is it for them, unfortunately. I think that Jason Eck is as good as gone after this year, especially if they do make a bid to make the college football playoffs. I think he's as good as gone. He's going to get poached. And I do think New Mexico will be better than they were years prior, but I don't think that they're going to reach the heights that they have reached, last year and potentially this year as well. So I think this is all or nothing for Jason Eck. I think he knows that. And I think he knows that he's going to be, going to a Power 4 school, sooner rather than later. Okay, now we're going to talk about the UNLV Rebels. Okay, that was really funny before. I do apologize about that. But UNLV, I think finally have a legitimate shot of making the college football playoffs because Boise State is not around anymore. Dan Mullen is here. Dan Mullen has Jackson Arnold, and he has, a ton of talent on this UNLV team. This is kind of like last chance. this is it's going to sound mean, but I feel like UNLV the last couple of years has been like last chance U in a weird way. I feel like a lot of like former 5, former 4 stars have kind of washed up on this roster, and they've turned in some really good seasons in the past couple of years because those players are finally like doing well. Like Tony Grimes comes to mind as one of those players. Anthony Calandria, before he obviously transferred to Nebraska, I want to say he transferred to as well. Like a couple of really, really solid players. But Jaden Thomas coming back, I think is going to be the focal point of this offense. I really do think that they are in a really good spot here. The like I said before, kind of on the reverse, talking about Memphis in week 0, that's going to be a really, really difficult test. But whoever wins, I will honestly feel better about making the college football playoffs because it'll be a really good benchmark because I do feel like UNLV fall on a little bit of the softer side of the schedule this year in the Mountain West. I do feel like they have, their non-conference schedule outside of Memphis is pretty good as well. So pretty good for them, I mean. So I think UNLV is a team that, as long as they just keep doing what they've been doing the last couple of years, I think they are a shoo-in to at least, be in position to win the Mountain West because that's the position they've been in last year, and they went 0-5 over the last couple of years against Boise State. So I think this is Dan Mullen's year. I think he knows it, and I think that they're really going to go for it this year. And I think that they have a really talented roster, probably the most talented roster in the Mountain West. Maybe the New Mexico Lobos would have something to say about that, but outside of that, next, the North Dakota State Bisons are the last team that I want to highlight because I really do think this is kind of like a fever dream for me. Because wouldn't it just be so awesome if a team, now, mind you, let's just kind of talk a little bit about North Dakota State Bison themselves. This is not your average FCS to the FBS transformation here. You're talking about the 10-time national champion North Dakota State Bison that, are bringing a winning culture, a winning pedigree, a winning fan base. They are expecting to win early and often. There is going to be no transitional period for this team. They are ready. I think that they are here to stay. And we've seen over the past 5 to 10 years, we've seen teams make the jump from the FCS to the FBS and succeed immediately. The 2 teams that come to mind the most, James Madison and Liberty, are teams that came and succeeded almost immediately. I feel like the world is going on North Dakota State's shoulders this year. They joined the Mountain at a really pretty penny to come over and join the Mountain West as well. The Fargo Dome is going to be electric. That is one of those places to play for a FBS team that I think is going to be a really difficult transition, especially in the Mountain West. I really do think they have a distinct advantage, but I think Nathan Hayes is taking over for Cole Payton this year. I think he's going to be a great dual threat quarterback. He's going to run that offense spectacularly, 6'3", 226 pounds. In very, very seldom appearances last year, he looked really, really good with the ball in his hands. So I think North Dakota State are in really good hands. I think the schedule, they could easily, if you look at their schedule, they could legitimately start off their FBS careers 6 or 7. Yes, I'm doing it. 6 or 7-0 without legitimately losing, to a legitimate team. And then after that, I think it would be, for the voters, for the committee, I think North Dakota State would have to win the Mountain West to make the playoffs or to even have a shot. But I think if North Dakota State even find themselves in the top 25 at any point this year, I feel like that would be just really, really cool considering how fast of a transition that would be. But I think North Dakota State have the infrastructure, they have the coaching, they have the recruitment. That's basically an untapped potential market up there in the Dakotas and the Montana and all that kind of stuff. I think a lot of people are going to want to go play for North Dakota State in the FBS. So I wouldn't be surprised they have a ferocious offensive line this year as well. A couple of really, really nice players. Griffin Empey is a player that I really like quite a bit. That's the center. I think he's one of the better centers in the entire 2027 NFL draft class. Defensively, they're always going to be pretty dang good as well. A really intriguing linebacker core as they usually do. And then the running game is going to be super strong as it always is. So I think if they could find themselves in the Mountain West Conference Championship game and potentially even win, I do think we're looking at a team that might be able to make the college football playoffs. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There are 10 dark horses that I think potentially can make the college football playoffs in the 26-27 season. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Thank you all for watching today. I do hope you enjoyed, and hope I see you in the next one.